In this episode of Art Loft, workshopping new material for the American theater.
Our mission is to produce new work, artists, and audiences for the American theater. We can't have the classics of tomorrow without the new work being produced today. And we believe that there is amazing quality work all throughout America.
A cabaret regular takes the stage as MC.
The classic musical Cabaret, which we caught in rehearsal, opened this week at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis. Its star, playing the MC, is one of New York's hottest real-life cabaret acts, Kim David Smith.
I'm talking about a night in Rotterdam.
And Tony Award winner Ben Vereen gives back to young actors.
And I started the WTA because I noticed that there was schools that did not have an arts program. And so I decided to build a program where young people get a chance to talk about what we call bold.
It's all ahead in this episode of Art Loft.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
in the Florida Keys and Key West, every night is a spectacular show. And every day is another masterpiece.
Hi, I'm Jumaane N'Namdi, and from the studios at South Florida PBS, this is Art Loft. Welcome back. I'm Jumaane N'Namdi. Now, theater takes center stage on Art Loft this week with riveting stories from troupes around the country. First, we head to Boca Raton to check out Theater Lab, the professional resident company of Florida Atlantic University. Their focus is developing new works, audiences, and artists for the American theater. So let's go inside Theater Lab.
My name is Matt Stabile. I'm the Associate Artistic Director of Theater Lab, the resident professional company of Florida Atlantic University. The university, of course, has a great educational program here where students can come and learn the skills they need and hone their craft. A resident company is a professional company that is housed actually on campus, and we're able to bring in professional actors, directors, designers, and put on fully produced professional productions. Our mission is to produce new work, artists, and audiences for the American theater. We can't have the classics of tomorrow without the new work being produced today. And we believe that there is amazing quality work all throughout America and beyond. And our mission is to give those voices an opportunity to be heard and to be seen on our stage. Our current play that's in production right now is This Random World by Stephen Dietz. We're really about community, and we wanted to show that in all facets of what we do. So we worked with a group of students here and an art professor, and they got the script from us, and they said, we'd like to do an installation piece. We have a gallery out in our lobby, and we like to have exhibits that sort of complement what's going on in the theater. And they created an entire installation based on their interpretation of the play.
I'd never worked with Theater Lab before, or done anything like this. All the students in the class were sculpture majors, getting their Bachelor of Fine Arts in studio arts with an emphasis in sculpture. So there was definitely a commonality between all of them to begin with.
We all really loved the play and felt like really connected with it. And we came together and talked about it, and pretty passionately we kind of created this, and just really excited about it.
The students really gravitated towards the cup, right? And they really kind of gravitated towards the rain.
We wanted to incorporate the scene from Kyoto with the cup and kind of the pebbles and the rain. We all found that that was kind of a really pinnacle point within the play, and so kind of that atmosphere of kind of a stormy night we wanted to incorporate. And so I think the sound element is probably the first thing you would notice. Through the welding and the structures that we had, we wanted to represent that disconnect from all the characters. You know, there's a disconnect, but yet they're all related, and so that's an element that we wanted to kind of incorporate.
once the installation was installed, you know, the vinyl went up, everything was kind of finished. Everybody kind of, I think the students and myself understood what really actually just happened.
I mean, theater is just a community event. So we also, we offer talkbacks from time to time when we have our audience stay after a show, because we're doing new work. It's important to get that kind of feedback and say, well, what was your experience? Where, you know, where were you? But also we run a second program called the Playwrights Forum and Masterclass, where we bring playwrights to town to read their new work.
Allison Gregory's play is a perfect example of how we have taken a work that is fresh and new and begin with a play reading as a part of a new play festival, and then workshop it and give it its normal rehearsal process.
And so what we were doing was, I think, helpful to a lot of these people in sort of articulating how you want your voice to feed into a character and how you want to follow that character's story.
Support for new work is so important because we're hoping to create the classics of tomorrow with the new work today. We're also hoping to develop a new generation of theater goers, patrons of the arts, and perhaps even perform it, not so much as an actor, but as a young person finding their voice. The Heckscher Foundation for Children supports us to achieve these goals.
The Future Pages Project is our educational outreach program. I like to call it sneak attack learning, because they think that they're just having fun with us, but they're really learning the basics of how to put a story together, how to build an argument, how to do these things. And so we go in and we teach the workshops. Then we bring those same students to our space to see a live theatrical production. And that production is centered on a theme that may apply to their life. So this current version we're doing, the theme was getting stuck. Then the students went back and they wrote their own stories about times in their lives that they got stuck. They then submit those stories to us. We read through and review all of them, and we selected 30 students to come join us. Those students will work with us here at the theater for 6 weeks, and over the course of that 6 weeks, they help each other, and we help them to rewrite and refine their work. And then they put them all together and they create a show that is all their original writing.
We had to basically write a story about getting stuck. I decided to actually do a poem because I thought it would be something that I've never done before. It is basically about me getting stuck in my jeans, so it's a comedic poem, and I had a lot of fun writing it.
There was just one moment where I actually felt like I was really stuck, so I wrote about that time. This one time was when I got stuck with my sister in her room with the door locked. It's kind of a comedy because I have like a lot of meanings and I have a lot of jokes in it because I'm just funny. Holla! Holla!
Every time we run the Future Pages project, there are students who just take massive leaps.
When I first came in, I was really shy. I didn't really speak a lot. It's just like an amazing opportunity to show my voice for the first time. I just felt like I've really been approving myself with just being myself and having an opportunity to shine.
Through this program, I've learned more about myself through a writer, and I've helped other people with their pieces, and I feel like they've just been so supportive to me, and it's just been an amazing experience from these kids who don't really have the same background when they come, but when we get together and work on our pieces, it's like we're all in the same world.
We always see those kids who are like, oh, that kid's special, they're gonna, but unless they get the chance to do it, you know, sometimes that fades away because they say, well, nobody's gonna pay attention to me. To see the pride in them and the confidence and the change that happens, and it's not anything that we do other than give them the opportunity to do it. And I really think it is the duty of every artist to be an educator. I don't think you can actually be an artist without at some point educating the next generation about how it is you do what you do, because otherwise your art form is going to die off. So it's great to stand up and get the applause, and it's great to, you know, get great reviews or whatever it is we do, But the most important thing we do as artists is help somebody else get to that point.
And to have a place like Theater Labs in South Florida, I hope they know how lucky they are. I hope the community knows that, and I hope they come to the shows here. I envy Floridians for having a place like this in their midst.
Coming up on Art Loft.
And it was during the 50s, and it was a guy walking down the street in a black neighborhood looking for kids to put into a dance studio. Of all the kids, I say, why did he choose me?
Cabaret comes to the Cape as we head to Cape Playhouse in Dennis, Massachusetts. WGBH in Boston takes us behind the scenes to meet actor, singer, and whirlwind Kim David Smith as he leads us through the show. Let's go.
Here in this well-worn club, a delirious, freewheeling frenzy of song, sex, and sensation. But this cabaret is on the verge of collapsing. The Third Reich has all but consumed the world outside.
If you could see her through my eyes, you wouldn't wonder at all. If you could see her through my eyes, I guarantee you would fall.
The classic musical Cabaret, which we caught in rehearsal, opened this week at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis. Its star, playing the MC, is one of New York's hottest real-life cabaret acts, Kim David Smith.
I'm talking about a night in Rotterdam, where the right night people of all the town would do what they could in the night neighborhood of Black Max.
Cabaret is, I think, one of the most ephemeral genre of performing. It can be whatever anybody says it is. It's drag, it's highbrow, it's lowbrow, or it's like me deeply investigating Weimar Republic culture and interjecting Kylie Minogue and the Supremes in sneaky ways.
The Australian native has been fascinated by cabaret performance since he was a teenager, and his father gave him a Marlene Dietrich biography. He was mesmerized by the German chanteuse.
She was so masculine, sexual, and so clever with what she had available.
Beyond this modern-day cabaret, it's the storied music halls of the Weimar Republic that have captivated Smith most. That's where, in the 1920s and early 30s, Berlin's avant-garde lights burned brightest. The scene was kicking with swing dancing, high-flying acts, and jazz. Censorship was out, satire was in. And in this free and easy circle, female, black, and gay performers could take center stage. It was relief for a city dispirited by post-war financial strain, political turbulence, and poverty. But the era was short-lived. Hitler's rise brought the Weimar down, having crushed civic and artistic freedom. A few years after the Allied occupation of the city, cabaret came to Hollywood. Berlin-born Dietrich resurrected the nightclub culture for the big screen in A Foreign Affair.
For in this crazy paradise, you are in love with pain.
Today, the gender-fluid Smith dons Dietrich's signature top hat for his cover of Illusions, a tune written specifically for the songstress.
They were lovely illusions, towering high, built on the sand.
I think a lot of transmitting a song is about spell casting. It's about magic and really like conjuring images in people's minds, but also drawing them in with incantations and things.
It's what brought him here to the Cape Playhouse, a storied theater celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. Known as the place where Broadway goes to summer, the Playhouse employed Betty Davis as an usher before she landed on its stage. Henry Fonda and his young daughter Jane appeared here, as did Humphrey Bogart and a host of other A-list thespians.
So what is it like to be
in this summer theater tradition, especially here where Betty Davis was an usher at one point?
I mean, that is the most exciting aspect, aside from Gertrude Lawrence's ghost still occupying the space. I can totally, it's the land of 40,000 gazebos.
Cabaret is the show Smith has always yearned to play.
Lips crown with the friends to me.
He takes on the role of the MC, the character who guides us through the demise of the Weimar period, with an edge. Who is the MC in the musical Cabaret?
Well, nobody knows, and I like to keep it that way. I like to preserve his mystery. Sometimes I'm like, well, he's a day laborer who then likes to put on a little kerchief and dance with gorillas in the evening, and or I think sometimes he's like a vampire or a ghost, and he just shows up when the sun goes down.
Well, what we do know, for the cabaret artist playing the cabaret MC, he's a master.
Next week on Art Loft.
I made films when I was younger. Me and my neighbors made films. There was always creating a story, yeah, for sure. When I first started messing around with photography, I was doing a lot of self-portraits. And then I started photographing my family.
Stage and screen legend Ben Vereen has kept in touch with his theatrical roots. Now located in California, he's working to bring theatrical and emotional education to young people. Take a look with Sacramento's KVIE.
Why the arts? Why acting? Why singing? Why dancing? Why music?
Because that's the creative aspect of our lives. And once you cut off that creative aspect, you cut off, the process of what the Creator sent us here to do. For me, I didn't know anything about Broadway. I was raised in Brooklyn, and it was during the 50s, and it was a guy walking down the street in a black neighborhood looking for kids to put into a dance studio. Of all the kids, I say, why did he choose me? And why did my mother say, yes, take him? I've just been lucky that way. I mean, people have come into my life that I thought I'd never, ever meet. And all these blessings have come into my life because I said yes to the divine within me. I do believe that the path that we've chosen was made up long before we were birthed into our parents' wombs.
I believe children are our future. Teach them well. Let them show the way.
In the process of growing, we begin to teach them how to make a living instead of how to live. Then their lives become what that is. They are labeled as. And I started the WTA because I noticed that there was schools that did not have an arts program. And so I decided to build a program where young people get a chance to talk about what we call BOLD, bullying, obesity, low self-esteem, diabetes. So I want to go into each school and put a little working troops together that deal with these issues where all kids get a shot at, expressing themselves through the arts.
Each one of us are different, but twins. We all have a pain inside. One that was caused by a crappy ride, something we couldn't control.
I was never bullied until high school. It wasn't something that I couldn't handle, though. I'm a very strong person, but words can hurt.
And it's wonderful what the kids have to say, because I believe that the arts can heal, given the opportunity and getting out of the way of it. Beautiful. Okay, go, sing from the top. Sing. Just like that. Don't blink on him, don't shake your head around. Talk to that guy in the mirror. Let him know that you are asking him to love you. Can you do that? You're asking the God within you, please help me love myself.
You should be loved by someone who knows you, wants you to blossom, always is true.
Come on. When you come to the class, I'm not a doctor or anything, but it's like watching a surgeon operate on a patient. And they are the patients, and they come open and ready. And I have to do is, just guide them to, where they want to go.
Seems so strange. Stop performing. B. Stop performing. B. Okay. All right? Come at me from your gut.
So I ask my performers, don't perform for me. Be it. Be this thing that you're talking about. These words that the author has written. Find, where do you live there?
Where am I now? Close your eyes if you want to. Now that I'm here, is that all there really is? Just endless days of making do, putting up with second best, always wanting something new.
So many performers perform on the surface. And the ones that are real good, they come from a place of knowing. But we have a tendency to mask how we really feel. For our own protection, it's a human thing to do. But in the theater, we have to have access to all those emotions.
So, are you gorgeous?
I think people tell me.
No, I didn't say that. I said, are you gorgeous?
Yes.
You are. But you do not believe it. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry.
So today was a beginning, because it's hard to do something in an hour and a half. When you open someone up like that, then that's the question of, okay, am I around to close it back up so they can go on with their life? Not all of them, as I said, will be on the stage. But because they came this way, they've got a sense of what that creative energy is all about. The arts is just something to recognize the greatness that you are. That's why it's important that we continue the arts. I don't know. I can't predict what the world's going to be, but I see what's going on right now, and I keep looking at it and says, maybe if we have more art programs, it might change. Now, people say, well, the arts, what with the arts? What, me painting a picture or doing a dance is going to fix things? No, the art is you. As you live through life, treat yourself as a fine piece of art. You are the Davids, you are the Monet, you are those pieces of great art that you go to museums and go, wow, is that fabulous? People look at you that way. Live your life that way.
Thanks for joining us on Art Loft. You can always connect with us on the social media at Art Loft SFL and watch us anytime on the PBS app by selecting WPBT2 as your local station. For Art Loft, I'm Jumaane N'Namdi, and remember, art imitates life, so do what? Live a beautiful life. Peace.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
in the Florida Keys and Key West, every night is a spectacular show. And every day is another masterpiece.